Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and I'm joined by my good friend and frequent guest on this show, Vubang. What's up, Vubang?
What's up, Patrick?
Did you read that article on ESPN about Draymond Green at all?
I did. I read it after you sent it to me. It's just, can I give my take before we go into the details about that?
Yeah.
There is so much narrative building that occurs after he does an action. And we talk about his narrative, but we never actually talk about his narrative. Like, he punches somebody in the face, a coworker, and all we talk about is a narrative of the reaction to it, but we never actually talk about the actual punch. Because in every other industry, if you get punched in the face, you get actually in trouble. And so I'm just tired. I don't actually want to read anything that Draymond writes or talks about anymore. I just want to follow his actual actions. And so what happens with CP3, if there's drama or anything that happens, I'm not going to follow his narrative about the relationship. I'm going to look for body language during basketball games because that's all I care about.
Yeah. No. What was for listeners who haven't read it, like, what is the gist of the article in like 2 sentences?
Oh God, you're going to have to explain that.
Okay. So it was an interview with ESPN with that dude Ohm, and he was just talking.
You don't want to pronounce his name. You don't want to respect his Thai name.
I don't know. I don't know his last name. Do you know it?
It's Soko. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's a very Thai.
Okay.
It's an amazing name. I love his name.
All right. That's going to end up in this episode. And, as a Southeast Asian person, it's embarrassing.
We're the worst. I know. Let me look it up.
You called me out and couldn't even do it. Anyway, while you look that up, the
Om Young Masuk.
What is it?
Om Young Masuk.
Om Young Masuk. Okay, great. So it was an interview, an article by him, and I mean, it's basically a PR piece, fluff, whatever. Draymond spinning the narrative as usual. And, like, part of the reason why I needed a break from talking about the Warriors and just basketball, because last 2 seasons, I recorded all through the off season, at least once a week, sometimes twice. But it was just like this. I love Draymond, what he's done over the years. I love him on the court, but just everything from last season, it stinks. Like, he ruined last season, plain and simple. And everything was a ripple effect from that action that he took as the quote unquote leader, as an old head, slugging some dude, and we don't know what it was. And the organization and the players gaslit everybody who said it was affecting the team. We were saying it can't be good, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, it's fine. It happens. It's sports, competitive. Punches happen, sure. But the effect of like the trust, the leadership, and whenever Draymond's spoken on it, he just talked about how it affected him as a leader. Dude, no one affected you. Like, you did this to yourself. So like, he says he couldn't be a leader because of the reaction to it. It's like, no, man, like, you gotta, that's not how you phrase that. Right. And even though I'm more than happy that Jordan Poole's gone, because I was kind of tired of his game, I sided with him in this whole like punch BS. So just reading that, I'm like, oh man, I just don't really want more Draymond, media mogul spin and trying to pour sunshine on all this stuff. So I'm pulling for Draymond all the time. I don't necessarily think he's a bad dude, but just like his kind of continual like playing almost like he was the victim in this thing, like I think deep down it seems like he thinks he's a victim of the media and overreaction or something. But he killed the season. When people talk about why the Warriors are so bad on the road, and everyone would say like, oh, teams get up for them, which is true, they're the champs, or teams amazingly shoot great from 3 against them on the road. No, it's because they hated each other. They didn't like each other, and there's no chemistry when you have to like stay in hotels, eat team meals, go through like shoot arounds in other cities. Remember the days when David Lee was still on the team and they would be on the fly and they'd be rapping about like cocaine or something? You know what I mean? All those like viral videos that got out, that's a team that likes each other. We didn't see any kind of hint of that in the off season. So I don't know. Sorry, that's kind of ranty. Uh, that's 2 months worth of staying away from hoops, but putting that all behind me.
My whole take is let's take basketball out of this and talk about like as an HR move. If this happened, the equivalent would be like whoever you are listening, if you're in the office and somebody punches you in the face and suddenly everybody else has to take HR training about anger management and the person who punched you in the face gets to go around talking about how they were the victim in all of this. That's the equivalent. Like if this was any other thing other than basketball, professional sports, that person would be in trouble or fired. So everything that he did was the exact opposite of what you should be doing. I don't even want to get into the whole like Jordan Poole's family reacting on Twitter, but we could probably tell that Jordan Poole took the high road in all of this. I know it affected his game, but the fact that he hasn't talked about it and just done it with facial expressions has been hilarious to me.
Yeah, I think he's done what he he's gone about this the only way he can, because Draymond is, I said this earlier in the offseason. I said, Draymond kind of has gone from that lovable underdog to an obnoxious front runner. And I felt that way before. And, like when I read stuff like this, it's like, oh yeah, like he probably thinks he's not at fault. You know what I mean?
I just don't think he's self-aware. He lacks a complete sense of self-awareness.
Exactly. Like, you have to be a certain way to get to this point, confident and not listen to the chatter. And, because also when you're a figure like that, public figure, you're getting like nonsense chatter from so many people who are just talking trash. But it's also like, hey, he had a long leash because Steph will never let Draymond leave the team as long as he's there. And Kerr ain't going to ever contradict Steph. So it's like, yeah, Draymond's coming back. You know what I mean? If it's a question of Draymond and any of the youngsters, it's Draymond. Draymond Poole, Draymond Wiseman, Draymond anyone else. So, but I don't know, put that all behind. And this whole idea that Chris Paul and Draymond, can they play together? Of course they can play together. They're not like, first of all, they're old heads, so they understand what's on the table here, what's at stake, and they aren't like guys who physically fought. I mean, if Dennis Rodman can play with Scottie Pippen and win 3 titles, Chris Paul and Draymond, who've just had on-court rivalries and trash talking, yeah, that's gonna be fine. They can play like in terms of personalities, in terms of on the court stuff, like who's handling the ball. Yeah, they'll get all worked out. These guys are basketball geniuses. You know what I mean? They'll figure out who can do what and when and how to make it all kind of fit together in that respect. Do you have any concerns besides like Chris Paul's age and injury history in terms of him like playing with the Warriors and getting along with the dudes?
Absolutely not. Like, I think in terms of him with Draymond, this is a situation where both of these players are the kind of players that you love on your team but hate on the other team, and it's just a big science experiment to add them together on the same team. Mm-hmm. And so, I plan on getting a Jordan Poole jersey and ripping the Poole out, and just penciling in Paul in the back.
Dude, those are on sale on the Warriors site, like Jordan Poole jerseys. So
$18, get one now. Just Google how to remove a stitching in the back on your swingman jersey. But yeah, I think he's going to be great. I just don't like this chatter of him starting, which is kind of weird. It just seems very odd.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how that's all going to play out. I haven't like when the trade first happened, I had all these thoughts, and I'm not even sure, and I don't even care. Right? I don't care who starts. It's who finishes. You know what I mean? And like CP has to understand that he's 38, 39. I don't know how old he is at this point, but like, he's joining a team that's won 4 titles. Should have been more, but and if he starts, who's sitting? You know what I mean? Ain't Draymond, ain't obviously Steph. Clay is not going to be cool with sitting in a contract year, especially. And if you bench Looney, that is a small team, and Draymond's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt before the calendar flips 2024, you know?
Yeah. Do you remember that year Steph, in order to get his minutes right, had to come off the bench
Yeah.
just for his minutes? I mean, I don't know how you set up Chris Paul's minutes. I mean, I assume he's not going to play a significant number of minutes, but I assume he wants to play when it matters the most. And it's not going to be the first 5 minutes of every game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could always get Wiggins to sit because that guy doesn't do anything, right? And then put Clay at small forward. But yeah, it's about who finishes. And you know, like one reason why I loved the trade when it happened, besides getting rid of, like, you know, I always said that somebody has to go, Poole or Draymond. Obviously, it's going to be Poole. You can't just return the same team and expect like a summer of not seeing each other is going to heal wounds. But what I liked was, like, now you have this change of pace, and also change of pace with like the second unit, and then also a reliable point guard who can run the second unit that we haven't had in, you know, since you know, our favorite Brad Wanamaker. Just kidding. You know what I mean? So like, you know, because Steph had talked about how Jordan Poole can play his role so well in the offense that there was no change of pace. The other defense can just play the same defense. They don't have to worry about a Sean Livingston changing things up, or David West shooting mid-rangers and all this. So Chris Paul brings a different look that other teams have to adjust to, and he can, you know, as been said many times, get the other teams to or get the other players, like the young dudes, you know, set them up for better seasons. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be so. I remember how automatic Livingston's mid range was whenever he came in. We're just like, okay,
Yeah.
he's going to make this. He'll make this one too. It's going to be nice to see that with Chris Paul going to the elbow. But
exactly, and it's a more dependable shot. And and now I'm like, oh, did they change the foul rules this summer? Like, you'll get, they were supposed to a couple years ago, and then they went back, and I don't know if they're going to change it now. But now we actually have one of the players I've loathed for years and years, for somebody who baited for free throws all the time. So
it's going to be so fun. I mean, have we talked about this yet? Have you talked about, I mean, this year is going to be so fun to watch, especially if Dwight Howard comes in with Chris Paul. Oh my God.
it's all going to be pretty hilarious. And all that I wanted at the end of last season, I mean, there are plenty of things, but the general, you know, big picture was like, please do not return the same team. You know, at the time, all the talk was like, yeah, we can bring it back and, you know, make some adjustments on the fringes. But it's like, no, please give us something else to watch, because the product on the floor was brutal in relation to the expectations and what we know these guys can do in general. Real quick, two more things. Where in the West, just off the top of your head, where are the Warriors, or maybe just what are your top five in the West right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's Denver at the very top, and everybody else is below. I mean, I don't believe in the Clippers. I don't believe in the Mavs, for both of those, for injury reasons. I think the Kings are going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be exponentially that much better.
JaVale puts them over the top?
No, I don't know. I mean, until the Kings prove they're not the Kings, right? Like the Warriors year where, you know, we lost to the Clippers and then ended up being really good. Like, is that the Kings corollary? Do you feel like that's the same thing where the trajectory goes up after that? I'm not sure. I don't believe in Memphis. I don't think Ja is really going to come back after 20, 25 games and just suddenly make everything better. I don't believe in JJJ staying healthy. Portland, no. Rockets, no. Minnesota, no. And so I don't know where that puts us, but I think it's in a good top four for sure.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I haven't looked at the rosters in the West. I put the Warriors 3. I put Denver, Lakers, Warriors. So I feel the same about the Kings. They're going to be very good. And let me preface this by saying, like, I don't necessarily think these are the way they're going to end up because of rest, because of injuries. The Warriors are always just, they're good, top four, whatever, if they can get there. But in terms of what teams I think are, like, I guess, power rankings, Nuggets, Lakers, Warriors, and then maybe I go Suns. Oh, the Suns are up there too. So Suns, Warriors is 3-4 swap to me. Lakers I put ahead. Again, all this is dependent on health, right? But I like what the Lakers have done. They've added a bunch of dudes, and LeBron's always been good at getting guys to play the roles for him. So as much as it pains me, I think they're going to be pretty good. And Austin Reeves, like the second coming. But I think he'll be even better next season. I don't think he's as good as everybody thinks, but he'll be better. So all that stuff. So I put the Warriors. I'll say 3 for now ahead of the Suns, and then I think after that it's Kings, and who else? I don't know, Mavericks.
I think the Lakers, Suns, and Warriors have to be sort of in the mix at the same time, because you can't just separate health from all that. Like,
right?
It's just a big jumble of like health concerns. And out of all those players, I think, in order, I'm knock on wood, I think it's Anthony Davis, then LeBron, and then KD in terms of health. Like, who's actually going to make it through? Just like I don't trust Kyrie to make it 3-4 rounds in the playoffs. I wouldn't bet on any of those players. It's just rough.
And that's the thing, right? You clump those 3 veteran teams in the West together, and it's like, all right, it really is just who's healthy. That's because if the Warriors with CP are healthy, like, I'll take them against the Lakers. There's no real favorite in that one, in my opinion. So at least at this point, but
a fully healthy Lakers that would take over any of those teams. I mean, because that means Anthony Davis and LeBron are healthy.
That's true. That's why I have them at 2. But now I'm getting excited for the season. It's like, what, training camp starts in like a month or something?
You didn't get excited with all the news I sent you? I mean, you didn't say anything when I sent the Patrick McCaw gets deported from Belgium. Like, these are great tidbits of news that I've been giving you all off season.
Like I said, I haven't been on the group text that often. And then I would miss stuff because it would just become this long train of randomness. But Patrick McCaw getting arrested is, 3
deported, not arrested.
Oh, okay. From where?
From Belgium. He signed with a team in Belgium, and they can't confirm whether or not he had a fake passport or an expired passport, but he didn't get into the country.
Bro, I hope it's expired, because I can see somebody overlooking that, but fake would be just ridiculous.
No, let me just say it's odd because he played in Toronto.
Yeah, I know. But when was the last time he played there? And passport expires after, maybe he had the passport his rookie year, right? And then after 5 years, he was out of the league. That makes total sense.
Did he become a Canadian citizen too during his 2 years in Canada?
I don't know, man. But if he doesn't hit that 3-pointer against the Warriors end of the first half in game 1, the Warriors win that series even without KD and Clay. Okay, so my surprise question for you is, why do you hate the Warriors youngsters so much?
What do you mean? Which ones? You got to be more specific.
Kuminga.
Why do I hate him?
Yeah.
I mean, did you watch Franz Wagner against the Warriors? I mean, against the US?
I did not watch any FIFA or FIBA.
I just really wish that we had thought about getting good players to play with our big 3 earlier instead of, I mean, in hindsight, we did win 1 championship going the 2 age directions, but Jonathan Kuminga has got to make it this year for me to care. But even then, he just feels like he's playing a different sport. But I do like him. I like the possibility of him.
Like, when you see him out there, what do you see that makes it feel like a different sport?
I feel like he is obviously more athletic and relies on it, but I also feel like in his head, he's like working out all the plays like step by step. Like I should be here, be here, and then I get the ball and I pass the ball. It still doesn't seem as fluid and as automatic. But if he can get what a DeAndre Ayton got from CP, then that's supposed to fix everything, right? The CP pill is supposed to fix everything.
Why do you hate James Wiseman so much?
Why? Who loves James? Who actually likes? You know what's really fun to me is like I randomly still look up Detroit Pistons James Wiseman news, and there's like just no news. It's like he's still here. He wants to be a rapper, or he likes to be a DJ. It's like he's so into DJing and record collecting that I'm like, does he really? He's like one of those players that just grew into 7'3" and doesn't necessarily want to play basketball. Did you watch Winning Time?
No, I couldn't stand the first couple episodes.
Because the whole thing is about how like Kareem doesn't really want to play basketball. He wants to do all these other things because, now he's obviously like a statesman and does amazing stuff. But like back then it's like, does he really want to play basketball? But he's obviously very good at basketball. So imagine James Wiseman in the same thing, but not good at basketball.
I guess my question is like, because I know his shortcomings, right? I also know how he got to where he ended up, but I feel bad for the kid. I just like, because I ask you,
you can't feel bad for people that make more money than you. You just have to save yourself from that. Please don't feel bad for people that make more money than you. A lot more money, I should say.
But it's all relative in like the context of sports, right? I mean, because you actively don't like him, right? Like you pile on him. Right? No, I'm just bringing this up because, and it's fair. It's fair. So I'm just wondering, like, if because he represents like he's like one of those.
He represents the biggest missed opportunity. That's what he means.
Yeah,
that's what he means to me.
Yeah,
it's just years that we don't get back. It's Halliburton that we don't get back. I keep saying to myself, like, because of the draft picks that we made, we ended up with a championship as a result. And there's no way any of us would give that up. But if we still won a championship, would we still have won a championship with Halliburton? Like with the butterfly flapping its wings in China, would somebody have gotten hurt and we wouldn't have gotten a championship with Halliburton on the team,
Oh, I mean, like, sure. Halliburton would have gotten the championship, most likely, if things played out similarly. But no, I just find it interesting, right? Because, like, I guess the rhetoric that I see from people in general, I just I'm like, man, people really hate this kid.
Did you make it to like I think it was episode 4 or 5 of Winning Time where they talk about Red Auerbach making the trade with the Warriors that landed them?
No. I'm glad. Thank you for warning me because that's a trigger warning for me.
Oh man, it was rough to see. And if it wasn't because of the Warriors now, they probably wouldn't mention the Warriors, but like the fact that it's the Warriors now and it's part of our legacy that no one remembers.
Right.
That the entire, 80s Celtics was just based on one trade.
Yeah. I mean, you don't understand. When I learned about that, like, that was before my time, but like, when I learned about that, I was like, no way. Because before the internet, right? Like you hear this piece of trivia and you're like, no, are you kidding me? We had
Robert Parrish for 2 years.
And then you gave up the pick, the number 3 pick, right? That became McHale. And that just set off 25 years of ups and mostly downs, right? Like, and then history repeating itself with bad decisions and all that stuff. But yeah, I find the 2 timeline thing, I just hate the fact that it was had this moniker because and for people who listen to the show, like I've kind of mentioned this in the past, it's like no one has been able to tell me like everyone says like no one's ever done it before, but no one's ever told me, like, when I say show me a dynasty team that's won multiple championships with their core intact that has had 3 lottery picks.
But it could have worked out if we picked Halliburton and Franz Wagner. It would have worked out. It's just the timeline thing would still worked out if they picked the right players.
but it also would have worked out if they didn't go all in on the draft. I think last season. I mean, that's my stance. Like they put too much on the young guys, and then then Draymond and all that, set the seed. Because like if they had just been like, okay, we have 3 lottery picks, let's stay with that. Let's leave well enough alone, and then not. And I'm not. I'll go back and say, hey, I was cool with the draft picks, Baldwin and Rollins, but like that's I think where, you know, you could always argue that like, oh, we should have picked so and so instead. But yeah, sure. But like, to me, that's where things started kind of falling apart in hindsight. Not that I knew it at the time.
The problem with the 2 timeline thing was it's not 2 timeline. It's they went high upside for the second timeline, like super high upside. And so going with a guy like Kuminga over, I'm looking at the draft list right now, over Franz Wagner, Davion Mitchell, Chris Duarte, Corey Kispert, Alperen Şengün was also a project, but obviously a faster project than Wiseman, obviously. It's just, if they just picked somebody who was like, if 10 is ultimate project and 1 is low upside, but they can play tomorrow and fit the 8th slot, they went with 9.
I would take Kuminga over any of those guys except for Wagner at this point. Like there's no question to me. Duarte, Davion Mitchell played in the series against the Warriors, whereas Kuminga got benched. But that to me isn't an indictment strictly of Kuminga. That's an indictment of the Warriors team and the coach. And I mean that's a whole nother issue why he didn't play. But I think that like with the Wiseman thing, you didn't know what was going to, they were all swinging because they didn't know what they were going to get coming out of that. Right.
I think I mentioned this before. I'm always this is the thing I'm going to die on. This is the thing I'm going to die on is this will be on my gravestone. Throughout the entire draft process, it's all on Zoom, right? Nobody's meeting each other in person. And have you heard James Wiseman talk in interviews or even in print versus Halliburton? Oh my God. Halliburton, like out of all the players from that draft year, if like just hearing Halliburton over Zoom, I'd just be like, I want this guy.
Yeah, I mean, wait, are you telling me that like out of everybody in that draft day, you were 100% Halliburton?
No, of course not. But I wasn't in Zoom interviews with these guys, right? All I do is listen to Halliburton. If Halliburton has a podcast out there, do you listen to it? Because I do. I listen to Halliburton podcasts.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't, but
he's a very interesting guy.
Yeah. I wanted Halliburton, but he definitely like wasn't the one where I was like, oh yeah, let's take him at 2. I was like, can we go back and get him at 4, because
or 12 where he landed, right?
Right. And it's funny because like everybody say like it's weird because he dropped and then he proved everybody wrong. Like it wasn't like people didn't know he was good. It's like just no one took a swing at him. It's like he wasn't an underdog that surprised people at 12 or whatever. He was a dude that was weirdly falling. You know what I mean? It's not a shock that he's this good. People said all the things that were pros for him have come to fruition. But
and it's hilarious because he still got traded. Like somebody still didn't believe in him.
Yeah, and I was making fun of the Kings for that trade, but the Kings worked it out, and I'm very, very, and I'm really impressed with De'Aaron Fox because I thought that guy was just like a numbers guy, a guy who could never really figure out how to get a team to win, but he's good. He's really good, and like you were saying before, it's obviously very reminiscent of not necessarily when the Warriors lost to the Clippers. It's more reminiscent to when they lost to the Spurs the year before and pushed the Spurs. I expected the Warriors to make a leap next season, but they just ran into a bad matchup with the Clippers. So we'll see what happens with the Kings. They might prove me wrong, and they might be better than. The odds are they'll probably be healthier than the old head teams that I ranked ahead of them. But
yeah, they might care less about the regular season. It's a bad year to for that to matter. They can't really rest players as much.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thank you for coming on to the show short notice. Love that. I texted Vu Bang yesterday. I was like, hey, man, I'm thinking finally do another show. Can you come on?
Yeah, I have a lot to say over the summer.
Cool. Well, I'll have you back on, man. So thank you once again. I'll check you out later.
Yeah, we're going to do our yearly 2020 draft, redraft. That's what we're going to do every year.
Apparently, we're going to do a 2021 as well, right? Or where in the world is Patrick McCaw?
Oh, God. I mean, I should stop following him on Twitter then, right?
Where in the world is Jermichael Green? Where in the world is Anthony Lamb? God, get all that bad karma out the way from last year. All right, man. I'll see you on the group text.